announcement. MIT has a clever solution to the spectrum crunch, maybe, and a crowdsourced constitution. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love from people you trust. This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, October 23rd, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by American Express Bank FSB, offering a high-yield savings account, the perfect complement to help you reach your savings goals. To learn more and open an account online, visit personalsavings.com/online savings, member FDIC. Tech News Today is brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces by Citrix, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate with colleagues and clients from anywhere. You can share the same screen and see each other face-to-face with HD video conferencing, even from an iPad. Sign up for your 30-day free trial today. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use promo code TNT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, or Android smartphones. Find out what your gadget is worth and get cash to upgrade to the latest iPhone at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt, and I lost a bet.
I'm Sarah Lane, and I won the pennant.
I'm Ian Zachary, no statements.
And I'm Jason Howell.
This is the show where we keep you up to date on the most important stories in the world of tech news, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the news feeds. All right. Apple announced new iPads, the iPad Mini with a 7.9-inch display, and a new Retina iPad with an A6X processor, and the new Lightning connector. Apple also unveiled a 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina, a new thinner iMac, new Mac Minis, and upgraded iBook Reader software. The new iPads will be available for pre-order Friday, and Wi-Fi versions ship November 2nd.
Microsoft has announced it'll offer a 250-gigabyte Xbox 360 for $99 or $149 with Connect if you sign up for an Xbox Live Gold account for 2 years at $14.99 per month. The two models will join the original 4GB with Connect option, which will stay firm at $99. You might remember that this pilot program started back in July, and the offer was available just in 16 official Microsoft stores. Now, a holding page invites users to check back later to see a full list of participating retailers. Might be a little bit of a holiday season surprise.
Remember that rubber banding patent Apple had, and you scroll down and the screen kind of bounces back? Well, Foss Patents noticed that the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has tentatively invalidated all 20 claims included in that Apple rubber banding patent. The tentative nature of the invalidation means that the PTO's decision is not final. Apple claimed that Samsung had infringed on that patent, and it was included in Apple's big victory against Samsung earlier this year. Samsung has filed a motion with Judge Lucy Koh.
Yahoo announced earnings essentially in line with expectations, operating income of $177 million in their third straight quarter of revenue growth. Marissa Mayer's first full quarter as CEO, and she spoke in the earnings call about changing Yahoo to a focused, coherent mobile strategy.
Remember yesterday's news that Samsung was going to pull out of LCD manufacturing?
That's yesterday's news.
For Apple devices by next year. It actually was yesterday's news.
I remember like it was yesterday.
Specifically,
Literally.
it was. It's yes, that's why they say yesterday's news. Samsung tells CNET that story, which was first reported by the Korea Times and cited a senior industry official, that the story is 100% false. A spokesman says Samsung Display has never tried to cut the supply for LCD patents to Apple, adding that Samsung was asking the Korea Times to revise its story.
Microsoft's new Office web apps are officially integrated into SkyDrive. The apps have been available since July as a preview, but were finalized yesterday. In more Office news, Microsoft unveiled pricing for Office 365 University. Schools can pay $1.67 per month or $80 over 4 years. Office 365 will include Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Access, and Publisher. The suite will be available in Q1 of 2013.
Nokia announced the Lumia 510 with a 4-inch display running Windows 7.5 and selling in 4 colors. It will come to Asia Pacific and South American markets next month, starting with China and India. These markets are critical for Nokia to regain its momentum. The Lumia 510 will sell at an unsubsidized price of $199 US.
The FTC has released a set of guidelines for companies building facial recognition technology. Organizations should design their services with consumer privacy in mind, says the FTC. They should develop reasonable security protections for the information that they collect, sound methods for determining whether to keep information, whether to get rid of it. However, J. Thomas Roach, which is one of the 5 commissioners, says there's nothing to establish that this misconduct has occurred or even that it's likely to occur in the near future. It's at least premature for anyone, much less the Commission, to suggest to businesses that they should adopt as best practices safeguards that may be costly and inefficient against misconduct that may never occur.
The U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency may be best known these days to geeks for seizing domain names. However, the agency just dealt a blow to RIM, announcing it will end its contract for BlackBerries in favor of the iPhone. The agency intends to buy iPhones for more than 17,600 employees because RIM, quote, can no longer meet the mobile technology needs of the agency.
Ouch. Yesterday, people were freaking out because there was an Amazon Web Services outage. The service interruption affected Imgur and Reddit, causing many of us to wonder where we're going to get our cat pictures now. On the technical side, Amazon's Elastic Block Store went down. That's a part of Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud, which is something lots of sites use to handle bandwidth demands.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by American Express Savings Bank, FSB, a member FDIC. Think about how you're saving. Hopefully you're becoming disciplined about putting away a portion of what you earn on a regular basis. Some of us keep a portion of what we earn in the bank. Some of us keep it for a down payment for a home or a car. And hopefully you're able to set aside some funds for an unexpected emergency, just a little safety fund. Whatever your goals for saving are, a good place to put it is an American Express Personal Savings High Yield Savings Account. It gives you competitive variable interest rates to help you reach your savings goals. You can easily link this account to your existing accounts without having to switch banks. If you're saying, look, I like that interest rate, but I don't really want to change banks, you don't have to. You can transfer money easily depending on your needs. Keep track of your balance by phone or web 24/7, and there's no minimums and no fees. Includes great phone support whenever you want to talk to someone. It's a great complement to your existing financial tools. You just add the American Express Personal Savings High Yield Savings Account, FDI insured account offered by American Express Bank FSB for your savings needs. And you don't have to pay anything. You just go open one up at American Express Personal Savings, and they think they'll help you reach your savings goals by opening that high-yield savings account. Use it for whatever you want. High-yield savings account at personalsavings.com/online savings. Member FDIC. We thank American Express Bank FSB for their support of Tech News Today. Okay, through the magic of time travel, we're actually going to go to the Apple announcement now. Will Laporte joins us, and we tell you what Apple announced.
All right, Tim Cook leaving the stage, and boy, this was a big announcement. In fact, arguably a much bigger announcement than last month's big announcement from Apple. Certainly more new products from Apple. The biggest surprise, the 3rd generation iPad is no longer available. They've replaced it with a 4th generation iPad that not only adds a Lightning connector, but also an A6X processor that he claimed to be twice as fast. Same pricing. So you won't be able to buy your 3rd generation
A6X is not something that we've seen before, correct?
No,
Right.
A6 is in the iPhone 5. That was the current model.
And the X's usually have extra graphics processors to handle that giant screen. That's what was in the iPad as well. The A5X at some point.
As you bought your iPad 3rd gen, not right when it was available, it was a little bit later on in the year, and you're feeling burned.
I bought it on pre-order day, like I ordered on that same day.
So you're not burned.
Oh no, I'm burned.
You know, we don't.
I don't feel that
I just
burned.
gave my mom an iPad 3rd
Well,
generation
this is
as a
accurate.
gift. And
Those are
She
collector's
won't know the
items
difference.
now.
she's
and
watching,
remember, the
unfortunately.
only difference is the A6X processor, which arguably is a difference maker, and the Lightning connector. So I don't
You're
feel
right.
the need to go rush out
You're
and
right.
buy this new iPad.
It's
I
just
have,
fast.
Yeah,
It's just fast.
It's
But I
it's
wonder
somewhat
what the
fast.
consumer, what average consumers are going to think. I think that might be a sticking point. The other, I think, important note is the cost on the iPad Mini. The Mini will be a little bit more powerful than perhaps that we thought. 7.9 inches, not 7.85 inches. No 8 gigabyte version, as the rumor mill predicted. It's 16 gigabytes for $329. They did get the price right. 32 gigs for $399. 64 gigs for $499. You'll be able to pre-order a Wi-Fi iPad Mini, actually all of them, on Friday. But your Wi-Fi iPad Mini won't come until November 2nd, and it's November 16th for an LTE-based iPad Mini. It is the Mini.
It's the iPad
you
Mini.
nailed it, Caroline. I was
Well, I
surprised.
mean, I think it was because we'd heard about it for so long that that's all I could think of in my head.
Right.
Anything else just sounded weird at this point.
Well, and it is a little confusing now because they are selling how many models of iPads? They have the Mini, the iPad 2 they're still selling.
Mm-hmm.
They no longer sell the 3rd generation iPad. They now sell the 4th generation iPad. So there are 3 models of iPad available. I think perhaps they did need to give this one a name.
Yeah.
It's a little
Well,
confusing.
they called it the iPad Retina when they put it up on the slide. It was the iPad 2, the iPad Mini, and the iPad with Retina display.
Okay.
Okay.
This
So
is the
there
only
you
one
go.
with
Now
the-
that maybe is a little bit clarifying. Again, we understand that. You at home understand that because you're hardcore committed technology fans. It's really what the market, the consumer who wanders into an Apple store will understand.
When they wander in, they're going to say, "I want the iPad," and they're going to
Right.
point to the Retina display. Here you go.
Right.
If you have
That'll
one
be
that's
the
cheaper,
current
well, we have a
iPad.
smaller one and a cheaper one.
Right. I think you're right. That's kind of what they've done with the iPhone as well, right?
Am I the only one who's disappointed about no Retina on iPad Mini? I mean, should I not care as much because it's actually a smaller package overall?
It's a pretty low res display. The iPad Mini at 1024 by 768, 7.9 inches is 162 pixels an inch. That is, kind of old fashioned.
Yeah, if you're using it, they were hammering home reading email, browsing the web, iBooks. I mean, that's all stuff where you are concentrating on small characters for a long time.
I guess
You
I'm
want it
not,
to be the best quality
I'm
possible.
not disappointed so much. I was expecting this for the price point because a Retina display at that size probably bumped the price somewhere $399, $499. And that's like the full size iPad class.
Mhm.
And I think Apple wants to make sure that they can get in that lower price point. $329 for 16 gigabytes isn't too bad, but I think that the trade off was that display.
It is $80 more than the comparable 16 gigabyte Nexus 7. It is $130 more than the Fire HD. Is that? I think that seems a reasonable
Well,
premium for
and
an
if-
Apple product.
The rumor is that Google's going to drop the price of the Nexus 7 come this Monday, October 29th, and you'll be able to get a $99 entry price version. So if that's the case, then all of a sudden this looks a lot more expensive in comparison.
Tim Cook made a big point of talking about how many apps are available for iPad. 275,000. And as much as you want to compare prices on tablets, you don't have the applications. And it's just big phone apps. Well, what do you have? You just have a big phone. So you might as well go with the phone. So this is their big hook, right? It's just we have apps.
You want to hear something really cold?
I'd love to.
During this Apple announcement, Zynga laid off 100 employees.
That was very smart.
Was it?
nobody was noticing.
Nobody was paying any attention.
Well,
Monica Belmont.
I was.
Belmont. How are you? She's coming to order her iPad Mini. Nexus 7 is 216 pixels per inch. I think somebody in the chat room mentioned, I think this is probably right, that they're saving a Retina Mini for next year. They need something to do.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Retina
so
Mini.
if
Well,
Retina is
but
important to
if
you, I
that's
would say
if
wait.
that's something you can get in March, yeah.
I would say wait.
Would
Yeah.
you really?
Yeah.
You really want to buy
Pricing
this
is also
for a loved one
March.
for Christmas?
Pricing is
What could
also
they do?
complicated by the iPod Touch, which really is, in many ways, an iPad, right? So
It's a small iPad.
it's a smaller, it more in the continuity of an iPad than it is on the continuity of an iPhone.
Sure.
So, but the pricing is not linear.
Right, but the other thing is the iPad Mini comes with a data connection option that you can never get in an iPod Touch.
Right.
So just seeing that price at $329, then you're like, oh, I can get one with cellular, and then you end up paying
For
a little
another
extra, $130.
$30.
Just that little gateway price, you know.
Yeah. Well, and as I pointed out before, the only number that anybody pays attention to is that entry level price. Even though that may not be the device they end up buying, but people always look at that as the price, right? Starting at $329. It's a very. I tell you what's interesting because we've got a Google announcement on Monday, and I think again this is credit to the chat room. I wish I had the name, but what we're going to see in the next decade is a very intense competition between Apple and Google. The battle lines have very clearly been drawn.
With Microsoft jumping up and down to get into the
Over here,
please
over
invite
here.
me too.
We
I
get-
want in on
We get our Surface RTs on Friday, at least I do, and so that's. I don't know. Is RT even in that playing field?
Sure.
It doesn't seem. It seems more of a serious device, perhaps, than the Mini or the.
Well,
Nexus 7.
the Windows 8 tablets are more of a serious device. I think the RT.
Where does RT fit in?
I mean, they're definitely pitching it as this is a fun device. You see those commercials that
That's
Microsoft
right.
is playing. It's like click, click, click.
They're
tap,
very.
tap,
They're
tap.
really iPad style.
They
commercials.
very much are. Yeah.
Apple Store is still. Don't know. It's reopened, and you can now shop for your iPad Mini. So let me just quickly order that. Why don't you guys
You can't pre-order
talk
till
amongst
Friday,
yourselves?
guys.
Oh
It's that
gosh.
time machine.
Yeah.
Darn
Apple
it.
Time machine.
Gosh darn it. They have put the keynote and the Johnny Ive Heavenly Room video up already on the website. They're calling it, and this is important to look at the language that they use to describe this. Every inch an iPad, emphasizing both size and the fact that this is an iPad, not a phone or a touch. Full iPad experience, but less of it. So again,
There's less of it,
but less of it, but no less to it.
Nice prepositional work.
I do like the fact that it has cameras on both sides. I think that's something they could have left out, and it makes it, in fact, really much more of an iPad.
and there's no camera on the Nexus 7.
That's right. There's a
Front-facing.
front-facing only.
There's no rear-facing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't actually point that out, did he? That was an opportunity that I missed. 275,000 apps, as you said, was a big distinguishing point. There are, of course, tablet apps for Android, but they're an order of magnitude fewer, and that's a significant difference. They're doing the MIMO Wi-Fi. Prices as expected. You know, it's too bad that this was telegraphed, because what would your reaction be if we hadn't heard that for the last week? It was going to be $329. Does that feel high?
Actually,
or low?
I heard $250. I heard $299. $329 was the highest rumor I heard. So this sounded expensive to me because what was telegraphed was all over the place.
I was like, they're gonna surprise everybody and go $249.
Right. Would that have made a difference? I think the people who buy Apple gear
Yeah.
expect to pay
they
a
expect
premium.
it.
Yeah,
It's not a
$329.
significant premium.
It doesn't shock. It
Does not
it's
shock.
expected. They didn't surprise you with
expected.
the like, oh my gosh, that's so cheap.
We've even argued, certainly on TNT, that if Apple goes too low, then all of a sudden there's a little bit of a psychological, well, why? Why can't they get more for it? Is there something missing?
The thing is, we've seen what the base cost of something like this could be with Amazon, right? They're selling things at cost, and so if Apple wants to make a profit on every piece of hardware it sells, that's what they want to do. The $329 price actually sounded about right because Amazon's pricing was so low. So just add another $100 on each product, pretty close.
Now they also introduced a new iBooks app with continuous scrolling and a Whisper Sync-like function. They introduced, as expected, a 13-inch MacBook Pro with a Retina display. But at the time when they announced new iMacs, we were all stunned because that was the one thing that didn't leak after the iPad Mini announcement and the surprise announcement of an upgrade to the iPad. Still stunned? Still excited about that?
I'm very excited.
Very
Now,
small
I think,
bezel.
Yeah, I think that you probably could say that most of the world doesn't care about desktop computing anymore, and so from Apple's point of view, the iPad and the new Retina MacBook Pro are probably much more important, certainly to the bottom line. But I, as somebody who uses desktops, and I know a lot of our audience still uses desktops, I think this is pretty exciting. This is what I would have thought an Apple TV might have looked like. Ultra thin, 5mm thin edge. The new display is much like the iPad, where the screen, or the iPhone 5, I should say, where the screen is glued to the LCD crystals, which means that you don't have internal reflection. They claim 75% reduction in reflection. I think the iPhone 5 gives you really a very good-looking display. I think this is, and you can pre-order those iMacs today, but they will not be available in the store for delivery until November, and the 27-inch not till December.
Well, that's the thing. 21.5-inch, 27-inch. If they had a 32-inch, that's a television.
Yeah, they're very close.
They just need to
And that may be next
provide
year.
a slightly
Yeah.
bigger screen.
Pricing the same, which is good. I mean, the iMac pricing is pretty locked in stone at this point, and they've got a very good range. It's still a premium, several $100s, not a lot, not double, but several $100s more. The Dell XPS 1 that we looked at was actually about $100 less, and didn't offer a whole lot more.
And this continues to drop all kinds of optical drives. So there's no optical drive in the Mini. There's none in the new iMac. There's none in the MacBook Pros with Retina at this point. The only thing left, I think, is the Mac Pro that has an optical, and I think the actual MacBook Pro without Retina. So,
It's interesting they're offering a hybrid drive, and we're still not clear what that means, but maybe they'll explain it here in the specs if I look at the new Minis. Because the hybrid drive, is it two drives or a single drive with
I
solid
believe
state
it's two drives, but I haven't gotten actual confirmation on it.
storage? You can choose this Fusion drive. By the way, is a build to order. Is not standard. The standard is a terabyte, 5,400 RPM hard drive that's in the 21-inch. In the 27, it's a standard 7,200 RPM terabyte. But you can configure it to a Fusion drive, which gives you, what did he say, 256 gigs of solid state storage in addition? No,
that was 128.
128 gig of flash with 1 or 3 terabyte
I'm not sure what they're doing.
hard drive.
And unless we can find that picture of the inside,
Either way, it appears as one logical drive in OS 10. You're not going to see a
Right.
difference.
boy, it's a beautiful looking display though, and I have to say that's impressive. They shoot it though at an angle that does hide the bulge in the back.
Yeah.
It's just
It's not perfectly flat all the way across.
perfectly
in the
flat.
back.
It's just much. It's very
But
much.
that's good design,
Yeah.
right? It just means it's probably going to take up the same amount of space on your actual desktop, but it's going to look good.
Let's see if we can see.
Well, you guys were blown away by the 13-inch Mac Pro Retina. I was sort of because I was expecting it partly, but also it's like, well, this is the 15-inch. It's 13-inch. That's cool.
Yeah.
But
I
there's nothing else
I'm
different.
excited about it. I wasn't blown away by
smart
anything.
addition to their product line. It's exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah.
Nothing new. One thing we can deduce from it is Apple is deprecating optical drives across the board, including on
He
the
said
iMac.
we're living in the past if we want one. In fact.
They
He
offer
said
one.
living in the past. We offer one if you are living in the past,
Stop.
which is kind of telling.
You'll
I
have
don't
to
think you're going
plug
to see
it in.
Blu-ray at any point.
No Blu-ray, no Blu-ray.
Supports. Sorry, Blu-ray.
Here's, by the way, this is the picture of the iMac bulge, and you can see it's actually kind of significant. It's considerable. But they have to do that. They've got to put the electronics somewhere on this
Mhm.
thing.
Or do they? Just don't even bother.
Somewhere.
It's just a piece of
They're
glass.
not quite there yet. Yeah.
Price
I think
per
it's
share of Apple
beautiful.
has dropped to $624, but that's
Selling the
expected.
rumor. Or selling the
news. Yeah.
Buying the rumor.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very nice looking. You still need basically the same footprint though if you put it on it.
Because of the stand.
There's always that
Yeah.
perceived obsolescence because when somebody sees your iMac with the optical, someone will go, "Ha ha!"
That's really
Look
the
at your-
most
Look
important
at your
point, isn't it?
fat-looking
It's
desktop.
it's the fins.
It's
Yeah,
simple
it's
things.
the Detroit model year update.
Yeah, I mean people do that with TVs for sure. You know,
If
you
you-
stand at the side and go, "Ooh, look
That's
how
how you watch
thin
TV.
that
Right?
is."
I always watch TV.
Right? Yeah.
Apple is
That's
also.
how you stand and watch your favorite show.
I think for people who are in the market for a Mac Mini, will be very impressed with the updates on the Mac Mini. They've really made this thing powerful and still very affordable. Pricing is, I believe, the same.
And selling a server edition, saying, "Hey, you know what? We're not abandoning you, server people. Even though we've phased out our servers, we're just turning the Mini into that line."
They've done that for a couple of years now,
Yeah.
but I think the server edition, it turns out there's a market. There's Mac Mini Colos. There's a big market.
Yeah.
In fact, we use Mac Minis in the basement as servers. So they make a very compact server machine. And now the problem with the Mini, and I should point this out, is it does not offer a separate GPU. It's using the Intel HD graphics. So it is not really a suitable replacement for a desktop for most people. And I think that they're really seeing this in really kind of specialized markets like home theater PCs and servers.
The Mini still user serviceable, still has that panel on the bottom, so they didn't seal that up yet.
Yeah.
That's like one of the last few ones. Is the Mac Mini and I
You
think
know
the
why?
Mac Pro.
Because it's the last computer Mac Apple's still selling with 4 gigs memory standard.
There you go.
They've gone to 8 gigs now across almost the entire product line, which is very interesting. I don't know if you really need 8 gigs on OS 10, but it's certainly, why not? RAM is cheap these days. And they are Sandy Bridge with every one of their desktops now, Ivy Bridge, except for the Mac Pro. And they have kind of a telling, and I wonder if they did this on purpose, computer comparison chart. In which the Mac Pro is on there. Let me compare Mac models. It's a button on the top now, and this when you do compare the Macs and you see the hardware specifications of the Mac Pro, it's frankly starting to look pretty antiquated and pretty pricey. So
Well, they're going to get the Mac Mini to the point where it doesn't make sense to get a Mac Pro anymore. The only difference being that graphics processor. And there's just, I don't know what the editing folks are going to do if they get
I
rid
can
of the
tell
Mac.
you, Alex Lindsay right now is already going, oh man. But that's a specialized market again. I have a feeling that that's not going to be something that Apple's going to worry too much about. The base Mac Pro with a Xeon 3.2 gigahertz quad-core Xeon and 6 gigs of RAM is $2,500. So it's really a specialty product at this point. Single terabyte drive.
It's actually user serviceable. It's one of the last ones.
It's the one with last one
You
with
can actually
slots.
switch out graphics cards.
Yeah,
It's
Last one with slots.
an odd idea. I think what editors are going to do is they're just going to. I mean, once Final Cut landed, it was a big, telling moment of, okay, this is not.
Apple
for us.
doesn't care. It's too small a market. They don't care.
Move to
They're going to
Premiere,
move to Windows.
Windows
They're going to move
machines.
to Windows. But for the home market and most importantly for Apple, for the mobile market, they've got a very compelling range of products.
Do you mind if I just take this discussion and put it in Tech News Today?
No, please do.
Okay, I'm going to magically send us into a time travel machine back to Tech News Today. So that's what happened earlier, or actually, wait, later, or it's so hard with time travel. Anyway, so there's the new announcement from the Apple iPad, whatever. Let's talk about Iceland.
Yes.
And their new crowdsourced constitution. We've mentioned this on the show before, that they were using a wiki, they were crowdsourcing the constitution. And what is the news regarding that?
The news is that the general populace is helping draft Iceland's new constitution via social media. It's amazing. So here's what's going on. So Saturday, the country held a referendum that asked voters 6 questions about this particular draft. One of the questions was, should we use this as the basis for the new constitution? I mean, does everyone here feel like this is the right way to take what the general populace feels and put it in front of Parliament as that much more of a reason to pass certain things? 66% of the country said yes. It's very easy for them to participate, so got a pretty good turnout. Almost half of Iceland's 235,000 eligible voters took part in this referendum. Now, that's not a lot of people, but then again, this is Iceland, right? So it's
There's not a lot of people there.
exactly. I mean, it's still a good turnout when you put it in perspective. So the backstory is that a couple years ago, Iceland's banking system collapsed. They had extremely bad times during the financial crisis. Country's government imploded. There was a lot wrapped up in finance and government. What came of that was the Modern Media Initiative, since been renamed to the International Modern Media Institute. This is sort of a WikiLeaks inspired free speech drive. So the idea that Iceland could be a haven for free speech.